Okay, recording started. We're good to start, Kavya.
Good afternoon, ILU Club members, facilitators, and our very special guest. My name is Kavya, and I'm very pleased to be the I-Chair for this meeting. As a chairperson, my duty is to ensure that the meeting is conducted according to the agenda, and the members uphold the values of the club. To conduct the meeting effectively, I have a team of 4 people: I-Timer, I-Grammarian, I-Fill-A-Counter, and I-Finds-Master. Next, I would like to introduce them. Could the I-Timer, Thanuja, please introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, Chair, ILU Club members, and our special guest. My name is Thanuja. I'm very pleased to be the I-Timer for this meeting. So as an I-Timer, I will record time for your main activities during the meeting. I will show 1 card 15 seconds before your allocated time, 2 fingers at the end of your allocated time, and 3 fingers if you continue for more than 15 seconds past your allocated time. I will present a report at the end of the meeting.
Our I-Grammarian, Siran, can you please introduce yourself?
Good afternoon, Chair and ILU Club members. My name is Siran. I'm very pleased to be the I-Grammarian for this meeting. As the I-Grammarian, my job is to pay attention to your vocabulary, grammar, idioms, and phrases used during the meeting. I'll submit a report at the end of the meeting. I'm privileged to give 3 points to any one person or share it among members who have used exceptional language in this meeting.
Next, we have our I-Fill-A-Counter, Mayura I.
Good afternoon, Chair, ILU Club members, and of course our special guest. My name is Mayura I, and I'm very pleased to be the I-Fill-A-Counter for this meeting. So as the I-Fill-A-Counter, I will take notes of your filler words such as so, you know, and right, as well as your subject repetitions used by any speakers. I will also give a report at the end of the meeting. Thank you.
And last but not least, our I-Finds-Master, Mayura B.
Good afternoon, Chair, ILU Club members, and our special guest. My name is Yura Bharat. I'm very pleased to be the I-Finds-Master for this meeting. In my role as the I-Finds-Master, I will take note of all your mistakes during the meeting. I am privileged to give 3 points to any one person or shared among the members who have behaved exceptionally well and followed the ILU Club rules during the meeting. I will give a report at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Today's meeting theme is career building. The meeting is divided into the following 7 sections: prepared speeches, prepared presentations, I think on my feet, case study, I quiz, I story and jokes, and evaluations. But first, we have our guest speaker, Mike Bird. Once graduating from university or college, many students will feel lost, anxious, and stressed. There is so much out there to do. What kind of job should you take? Will all these years of studying pay off in the end? Stories of unemployment are all around us. Thankfully, Mike Bird is dedicated to helping university students launch and build their careers with Coach Roiseau. He helps build clients' brand using resumes and LinkedIn profiles, all while addressing behavioral issues. He is a certified professional coach endorsed by IPEC Coaching. Mike believes in pushing yourself beyond your comfort zone in order to grow. Mike has done so much, from coaching sports he's never played before to teaching math. He was born with a severe medical condition and was treated over the course of 5 years. Coming out of McGill University, Mike was lost and unsure of what to do. He had landed a job thanks to a connection he'd made. Less than 2 years later, he was released from the position. Mike had strong technical skills. However, the problem was with his soft skills. He then took a different position at the same company. For 5 months, Mike made very little money and worked for long hours, trying to take in the French language. Afterwards, he was able to walk away with a clear understanding of French. Mike speaks every Wednesday on a podcast called Career Builders. Read his weekly Sunday writings by subscribing to his newsletter, Take Flight. We are truly honored to have Mike Bird here with us. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to speak with us. So without further ado, let's all give a warm welcome to Mike Bird.
Wow. That was amazing. That's the best intro I've ever had. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Kavya, and everyone else here. This is such a cool initiative that you have all of you together working to learn in the shared space. And I'm a really big believer in the idea of when we work together, the idea of alone we go faster perhaps, but together we go further. So I'm a big, big proponent of this kind of initiative. So I'm so touched right now. Thank you so much. All right, I will get into my slide deck and get our
And-
show going.
Sorry, Mike, did you say an hour? Or did you want us to track or?
Yeah, I'm kind of forecasting around 60 to 75 minutes here.
Okay, right.
And it'll be a mix of some content that I've prepared and just hearing you guys and whatever questions come up. I will go through this slide deck. There is a point in the middle of it, sort of roughly in the middle, where I will open up for some questions that might be coming up partway through. And otherwise, I welcome anything that comes up in sort of an extended Q&A session right at the end.
Perfect.
So, yeah, thanks for clarifying that with me. So just see here if I can bring in a little more light onto what I'm doing. The road ahead and imagining the future of work. And this is a topic that I don't get to talk about as much, but I think it's extremely important. I think it's very, very important, especially for someone who is in high school. And I have spent a lot of my career working with people who are of the high school age. And I love the energy and the passion and the potential of anyone who is going through this part of your life. And while it can be difficult for a whole bunch of reasons, there's an incredible amount of growth that happens during these years. To kind of just have the opportunity, honestly, to come in and share some thoughts, things that I have learned and things that I'm thinking about for all of us. It's a real honor. So I appreciate it. So as we imagine, and I thank you so much for that kind bio. A lot of what Kavya just mentioned is right here on this slide, or some of it. She actually gave so many great stories about me, and I'm very thankful. I've arrived at this position really without a plan and came into it one step at a time. Becoming a career coach is something that I definitely didn't plan on when I went into university. My plan was originally to become a doctor, to become a sports medicine physician. And I left it wanting to become a football coach. And now what I find myself doing is I have a day job where I help place people who are IT students coming into Canada and want to build their careers here, their lives in this country a lot of the time. A lot of my students actually in that role come from India. And I'm based in Montreal and have been for almost 15 years now. So it has given me this opportunity to work with a lot of different people, learn a second language, as it was mentioned. I have a couple of cool wrinkles to my story in that I was a former house music DJ once upon a time for a brief chapter of my life when I was in university. That was a different lifestyle. And as mentioned, I did not make a lot of money when I started my career for quite some time, actually. I was not doing all that well financially. I was learning a lot of different things. I became quite resourceful. And the reason I list that point is that I'm not someone, while there's certainly many privileges in my life, I also understand what it can mean to struggle through a particular part of our life. And I just want to meet people kind of where they're at, if that's true for them. So I don't think this will be hard for this group, but I definitely will encourage you to be as curious and engage as much as you can. Questions are more than welcome. I suppose in this kind of more small group setting, yes, you could use chat if you wanted to, but perhaps you guys also have just a culture around asking questions. Feel free to do it live when I open the floor up to that. I might let Anu kind of weigh in on that, but
Yeah, they usually ask questions, usually
Perfect.
after the presentation and whenever you ask them to. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So please take advantage of those moments. I'm going to cover a few different topics today. And if there's something that I've missed or you'd like me to dig into a little bit further, don't be afraid to bring that out. About 55 minutes of content roughly, and then questions, and then I'll let you guys get on with your afternoon. I believe in agendas, but I also really believe in objectives. And I think by the end of this presentation, you are going to end up with a different perspective on what the world of work might look like. No one has a real crystal ball, I don't think, but I'm going to give you an idea of what my thoughts are based off of what I've seen up until now. There may be changes that are in store that are really going to directly affect you as you go through these next sort of 5 to 10 years of your life, depending on how old you are now. And talk to you a little bit about the idea of how you stand out among your peers as a job seeker in a market right now, for example, that is very, very tight. There's just so many people who are finding themselves unemployed because of this pandemic. And the pandemic, sure, it's happening now. There is definitely the possibility that we will have more pandemics more often, unfortunately, and other events like that may cause these sort of gluts in unemployment to kind of take form, and which means that your ability to market yourself to employers and communicate your value and really have a system in place to look for work is really, really important. And then, yeah, what can you do right now? I realize that you're not necessarily starting your first job tomorrow, but can you take a step now to kind of build that road that leads you there more smoothly? So the question that I want to just put out to you, it doesn't have to be answered. If you want to have an answer, if you have an answer in mind, that's fantastic. Don't be afraid to share it. But I'm curious to know if you've ever thought about where you might be in about 30 years' time. A lot of people ask the question, where will you be in 5 years? That's a very helpful question. Have you ever thought about what you might be doing in 30 years? And the reason I bring it up right now is because for myself, I have no idea what I'll be doing in 30 years. And I'm a little more than 30 years old. I've had plenty of life experience thus far. I've lived a very rich and fulfilling life in many ways. I have no idea what my own answer to this question is. And so it's okay if you don't know your answer. That's quite all right. Your career will be very different, yours collectively and yours individually, versus the careers that have come. Even for someone like me, it's sort of been predicted that someone in the millennial generation that I'm a part of will have somewhere in the ballpark of 8 to 10, maybe 12 different little career paths within a larger arc. It's possible that your number may be even higher, and how it evolves will be a little bit different. I want to get into some really important points around just sort of why I think this is true. The world of work has changed. It's changed a lot in the last 150 years, and it's going to continue to change because our world is really rapidly evolving. We're in a very unusual time, as we all know, right? We are, first and foremost, we're living in a time of great health concerns with this pandemic. We are living through a massive climate emergency that is threatening literally every one of us. And I'm not saying that to be alarmist. I think that there are great positives that are being made right now in the fight against climate change. But this is unique. This is not something that existed as a conversation topic 20 years ago. And this will continue, I believe, for the duration of your life. The number of jobs that existed only about 150 years ago was around 100. So the number of total occupations that you could pick and choose from. And if you lived in a small town, maybe your family was a family of bakers, maybe the town needed a blacksmith. All of these things made for it. It's a very simple choice at that point when you only have a limited number of options, and the needs for how you can serve people are pretty clear. Now we're in this period of time where there are over 10,000 different kinds of jobs, which is a stunning increase. And ultimately, we don't have enough time in our life to explore 10,000 different opportunities. So the big challenge becomes, how do we narrow our focus and really figure out what would be best suited for us to pursue? Another huge constraint that is not really a constraint, really, it's an improvement, I think, for many people. I would say that an increased life expectancy is a good thing. It means that we are going to have very, very long careers. You younger people especially, and me, even my career will be longer than my parents' was most likely, and all of you will have longer careers than even someone like me. The idea has been proposed actually in the US. I read an article back in, I think it might have been late January. So pension fund actuaries in some parts of the United States, these are the people that decide sort of how how do pensions have to be structured in order for people who retire to receive their full pension in the period of time that they expect them to live for? So if you worked for, let's just say 35 years in a job, and this is kind of true right now. Let's say you work 35 years in a job and you retire when you're 65, you're going to get paid some rate based off of what you made in your career for the remainder of your life. That was sort of the golden age of what's called a defined benefit pension plan. And those calculations, like how much money do we need in order to fund this person's retirement, were based off of calculations of life expectancy somewhere in the 70s, maybe in the 80s. Now, that life expectancy calculation for people who are entering the workforce, at least in some areas, is actually going up to as high as 125. That is a dramatic increase in life expectancy. And that is partly as a reflection of kind of where we come from, since these original projections were made for a generation before, and what's the evolution of medicine going to look like in the next 50 years. So something to keep in mind: you're going to have a lot of career options, and you're going to have a very long career compared to the people that have come before you. That's what it all boils down to. There's also this other question around the world becoming socioeconomically more and more unequal. I read recently that the world's 25 wealthiest billionaires now have 50% of the global wealth under their control. And that poses some threats to the current economic systems of the world. I think we are likely going to see capitalism, for example, get reshaped over the course of our lifetimes. And like I said before, there is this big threat to all of us in the form of a climate emergency. I was fortunate about a year ago during the federal election here in Canada, a Green Party representative from my riding, who is a teacher, actually, a social studies teacher who teaches climate change as part of his work to high school students, talked about the fact that at this point if we do not change pretty rapidly the way that we are farming this planet, we have about 60 harvests left on the planet. That will impact all of us. There's no question about that, and your career. So I know that kind of sounds a little bit scary. It creates a lot of pressure for us to do some really important work in a fairly short period of time. The planet is going to become something that becomes part of your own life, I think, in a way that wasn't true for generations before. And the people who make the most out of this, I believe, are the ones that understand what is happening, are truly seeking to be aware of it and not blind to it, and will adapt themselves as much as they possibly can. Because of this increase in number of potential jobs and the way that the world is being shaped and new problems are coming up all the time, it is possible that you might end up creating your future job as opposed to applying for it. So adding to that total of there being 10,000 whatever options, maybe you create the 10,001st option or the 10,002nd. That's a very exciting mindset that I don't think has existed until recently. There's a chance that you will pivot several times and in dramatic fashion throughout your career. So just from my own experience, starting out in the world of athletics, building a career in education, sort of on the side, and now taking that and turning it towards helping people develop their careers really in a different way. That is in only a 10-year period of time, my story. And that's when we go back to that question around what will I do in 30 years? Well, based off of the way it's gone so far for the last 10, who knows? And I do think that being open to change and pivots, as we often call them, is beneficial to you, and not being closed off to what you're doing. There are some pretty amazing stories, actually, of people that have gone down certain paths. And actually, I'll share two really quick ones right now, just to give you an example. I met a gentleman 2, maybe 3 years ago, and he originally had a career in international finance, just traveled the world doing all these different business deals. When he was 55, he decided he would go back to school and become a doctor, and he did. At the same time, my university, which is coming up to its homecoming weekend, was profiling a graduate of our school from, I want to say, the late 1970s, maybe early 80s. And this person has, through the course of his career, been an astronaut, an aquanaut, an emergency physician, and a senior corporate executive all in the same lifetime. And these are people who started their careers many decades ago. I truly believe that your careers will have as much variability, if not more. Talked about this, that the idea of our capitalist system that we've been living in the way it's been for the last 75 years will need to be redesigned to adjust for the fact that there are just simply, in my humble opinion, there are too many people that are at a disadvantage. And there are people who benefit much more from it than others. And I do not think that that is sustainable. Politically, I don't think that's sustainable. So we will see where it goes. I'm not going to try and predict where it's going to go. I just believe that it will change and change dramatically. And that's something to be aware of. And then, of course, the needs of the planet becoming really a central part of what we do. So industries such as renewable energy, the green economy, do we develop technologies that increase how efficiently we use energy, how efficiently we store energy, how we farm, kind of as I mentioned earlier on. All of these things will become pressing needs that will have to be solved. And that goes back to me talking about how you might end up creating a job that solves those needs. How will this all impact education? I really believe that we're kind of at the beginning of a transformation of education. Certainly, we've been very fortunate to see the internet become something spread throughout the world that allows many people who didn't have access to sources of knowledge to all of a sudden have it, and have it for very little money, relatively speaking. The sort of classic career path that dominated the 20th century of going to high school, going to college if you could get into it and afford it, and grow your career by getting a degree, getting a steady job. I don't think that's going to be, it might still be one of the mainstream ways, but I'm not sure that it will be the majority of people that end up building their careers that way. We'll see. Because of all the sudden changes that we see in the world right now, there will be a need to continuously upskill. Technology right now is evolving at a very incredible rate. And what was learned for people who are in a 4-year degree program, it's possible that by the time they finish their 4-year degree program, the things that they learned in their first year will be on their way to being obsolete based on the rate of change in technology. So the idea of potentially going back to school several times to do smaller kinds of certificates or diplomas to upskill, taking on possibly an internship in the middle of your life if you'd like to pivot, or an apprenticeship of some sort that allows you to redirect your career. I think those are all going to be options that are on the table, because the idea of just doing one thing for 30 years after being educated in it when you were in your early 20s doesn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, given the rate of change in the world overall. There's still a certain degree of value, just to kind of close off on that. The post-secondary education lifestyle, for example, taught me so many things. It was a great time in my life. I enjoyed meeting a lot of great new people. I was exposed to just very different ways of thinking about the world and different constraints in terms of how do I lead my life. That's still something that I think is very, very valuable. However, the overall model of the college system is changing and is being threatened economically. Definitely consider new ways that come up. So I'm actually in conversation right now with someone. I'm trying to get a sense of the different ways that people throughout the world learn in terms of like the idea of internships and job placements, similar to what I do in my day job, is not really a thing in other parts of the world. And so there are different ways that people can build their careers. Consider researching how people are designing their careers in the fields that interest you, not just domestically, but internationally. We're in a very globalized world where ideas travel quite quickly. We're not restricted, obviously, with the internet from sharing ideas with people who are all over the world. And so be aware of just different ways of developing hard and deepening your soft skills. So how do I kind of differentiate those? I know that you guys talk a lot about sort of hard and soft skills. I really believe that soft skills are things that you continue to develop over and over again, regardless of the job that you are in. And it will be, can you sort of accumulate a certain stack of those skills over your lifetime and the different roles that you have? it's the hard skills that might have to really be rebuilt as you go from, let's just say, potentially a world of, if you wanted to be a teacher and you go out and teach for 5 or 10 years, and all of a sudden you want to become some sort of an IT professional. And I was talking about this with Anu at the beginning of the show of our presentation, just the idea that some people will go and do a 3-month boot camp to then go from teaching to the world of becoming a developer. And that kind of educational pathway, I think, is going to become more and more common, not just in IT, but in other fields as well. So I want to just pause because I know I've kind of spoken for quite some time at this point. Are there any questions that have come up so far?
Tanuja?
Yeah, I was just wondering, what do you think will be like the biggest category of careers, let's say in the next 20 years?
Yeah, wow, that's a great question. Currently, so when you look at the top 15 jobs that are being are demanded for in our economy right now, LinkedIn releases a survey every year on this, and they did it at the beginning of this year. Of the top 15 jobs that are being sought after in our country now, 14 of them, of the 15, are in IT. So they are developer positions, they are data scientist positions, IT project management positions, or anything that has to do really with that world. And the non IT job was sales, so any kind of salesperson. There's probably a hint there that we're going to go down that path for quite some time. I don't think that IT is going to go away anytime soon. Where we might end up in 20 years' time is what I kind of hope for is a growth, big time growth in the areas of green technology, renewable energy, just really looking at how do we redesign the way that we are harvesting the resources of our planet so that it's more sustainable. I just think that's just going to be a universal need that we have to address. I don't know exactly how it will pan out, but that would be my best guess right now. It's a great question.
Thank you.
And I just posted the LinkedIn since you mentioned that, Mike.
Great.
That's for 2020, but that's in the US.
That's a US one. There's a US one. There's often a Canadian one, and the Canadian and the US ones tend to be somewhat similar. I mean, you can sort of learn some things from south of the border that you can apply here, but yeah, keep an eye out for those surveys as they come out.
Yeah. Mayura, I?
Kind of bouncing off percentages. So as those jobs, those new ones start to come in, what do you think, are there going to be some career paths that are kind of start to fizzle out? And what?
Yeah, great question. I think we're going to continue to see sort of the fizzling out of certain careers. I think as automation and AI start to really take hold, things like the banking sectors of our country are really starting to shed their headcount. So the total number of people that they have hired in their organization is starting to drop. So things like accounting, things like sort of basic finance, any kind of I'll give you an example. Right now, I'm trying to buy a house and I'm talking to a mortgage specialist, a mortgage broker. It's very possible that this kind of a role could be replaced. So I do think that we're going to see some changes like that. In terms of other industries, I mean, certainly the way that like the energy sector has its sort of the split of people who are working in, let's just say, oil and gas, for example, versus wind, solar, hydroelectricity. I think there's going to be sort of a shift of people leaving the oil and gas sector, eventually going more towards the renewables. I think as we continue to build infrastructure in our countries that continue to allow for information to travel. I saw a really cool documentary not that long ago that talked about just how like the internet connections, for example, that bring information from Canada to Europe that runs through a cable that runs the length of the Atlantic Ocean, and there's many of them. So how do we continue to connect our world as it becomes increasingly more connected, literally, in terms of its digital footprint? So those are, I just think we're going to see people kind of go away from things that were really, really local, like the small town that had the coal mine, for example. I think that will be completely gone if it's not already in a lot of places. Manufacturing, I would like to also see potentially change as well in the way that it's done. I know that economies of scale, and when you manufacture something at a large level, it creates cost savings, but it sometimes also creates really big environmental costs that maybe we can redistribute. So maybe the way that we manufacture certain goods begins to change, and that would mean that people who are working in these large factories may not be in that kind of role for very long. So good question. I mean, my guesses are somewhat speculative, but based off of what I'm seeing right now and where things might go.
And
Yeah.
Mayura B?
As you said, the world is like rapidly changing and you have to be open to change. But for people that are not so open to change, like me, I hesitate to see change. So how would you give any advice on how we can be open to change?
Wow, that is a great question. Thank you. So if you're not open to change, I think a question becomes, what about change causes you fear? Are you afraid potentially of what is to come if there's not enough certainty for you? There's a saying that the best way to predict the future is to create it. And when you look at that, if you sort of adopt that as your mantra towards change and realize that you can shape the change that you're experiencing, then you have a lot more control over the direction of your life. So that would be another thing that I would say. But try and get a sense of sort of where is that fear of change coming from? Because in my honest opinion, I've said this in this way before, the people who adjust their sails to the changing winds are the people who will travel the furthest in our life.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Great, amazing question. If that is all for now, that is fantastic. If there's another one, I'd be more than happy to. The quality of questions from this group is fantastic. But there will be another chance for you guys to get your questions out a little later on. Okay. I just want to check my own time here. I just realized in my full screen, I don't have a sense of where I'm at. There we go. So let's kind of talk a little bit about how you stand out as a job seeker. There's tons and tons of people coming out of universities every year right now. And at this particular point, there's millions of people in the US, about 4 million students that are kind of in this transition, and it's not exactly clear when they're going to land their first job. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they don't necessarily have an understanding of how to market themselves. And you guys talked about sales last week, which I think is such a super relevant topic to this, because job search is really a sales process in and of itself. The basic keys to me are understanding yourself, what you're becoming, where you're going in your career, and then understanding the people that you could be helping and the value you could bring to them. So knowing yourself, knowing your audience, and knowing what is important for the roles that you are applying, so that you differentiate yourself by really coming out as the ideal candidate and not just a candidate. I think the value of storytelling is probably a little bit understated, and it's yeah, right. This is big. Storytelling is how human beings have learned for thousands of years. Before textbooks were written, before the internet, the ability to tell a story and pass knowledge down from one generation to another is the fundamental way that we have evolved as a human race. And it's a skill that is in all of us if we choose to acknowledge it. And it's important because storytelling connects to our emotions. Facts, for example, we could I said earlier on the stat around the 60 harvests left. That's a pretty gripping statistic. But what would that also mean from a storytelling standpoint? And I don't want to go down that. I just wanted to use that as an example. I don't want to go down that road. But storytelling, as you go out and you meet people and you apply for jobs, the ability to connect emotionally with an employer is the skill that's going to make you a really strong candidate. And telling a story means that you know of a story to tell. So you know yourself. Marketing and selling yourself is really an act of service. And I love just not even probably 3 years ago, my idea of sales was quite icky. And I just didn't feel like people who were in sales necessarily were out for my best interests. And what has become very, very apparent is that salespeople are the great ones are creating win-win opportunities. And when you are a job seeker, your goal is to create a win-win opportunity for the employer and yourself. You want to come in, present yourself as someone who can solve problems in exchange for compensation that you deem fair. And I know you guys have also talked about negotiation, which is a fantastic kind of side conversation, but all of these things come together to really lock you in as the candidate that people want to hire, but realizing that in order to sell, you must commit to making acts of service before the job is even posted. And I can give you an example on this. If you can become the ideal candidate, I've been in my current job for a little just under 6 months. And about 7 months ago, I was contacted by someone. I had an opportunity to get into a conversation with someone at a different company. I don't work for them now, but I developed this relationship with someone who wanted to get to know me. We had a mutual contact, and that sort of created the introduction, which is a vote for networking, by the way. And I have been in touch with this person, even though I have not decided to work at their company. They didn't have a role ready for me, and I wasn't necessarily the fit for the role that they were looking for at that time. The bottom line is that I have continued to maintain that relationship. And I actually got off a call with this professional friend of mine about a couple of weeks ago. And he said, we don't have a role for you right now, but man, as soon as we get one, I want to work with you. And that was really striking, because here's someone who doesn't have a job posting out there on the internet. He's not looking at, hundreds of resumes. The process that you envision oftentimes when you're looking for a job is that you're trying to beat out all of these other people that have submitted resumes that, are different than yours in whatever way. Here I was in this conversation with someone who just was getting to know me and understanding who I was able to say, like, I would like to give you an opportunity. We don't have a job now. And this was true a couple of weeks ago. He said, we still don't have a job that I think you'd be a good fit for you. But when we do, I'm going to reach out to you again. Okay. So becoming the ideal candidate for a job, once it becomes available, once the timing is right, is a whole new way of looking at job search. And I encourage you to take a look at it. What can you do now? So I wanted to share with you some ideas around what are ways that I'm seeing younger career builders build their careers, and also lend some ideas based off of what I have learned. I am a huge believer in this. So as a podcaster, as someone who writes a short weekly newsletter, I am always trying to take some time to think about things to give value. So acts of service. The podcast, the weekly newsletter, those are acts of service that build relationships. And I've received an opportunity already from my podcast. I was talking about this with Anu right at the start of class. I've received an opportunity to become a contracted career coach because of my podcasting, and just the fact that I've been willing to give out value, and someone else who saw the value in that connected with it. The content creation game is becoming bigger and bigger, and it's never really been easier than it is right now. It's relatively simple to start a YouTube channel, or to start a podcast, or even a blog. The golden age of blogging, I would say, is behind us. But if you are a very talented and dedicated writer, then I would not hold you back from doing that. But there's no question that creating content attracts people to you and allows you to develop greater expertise in the areas that you are interested in, so that you become something of an authority figure, and someone that people want to get to know and potentially hire. So that's one thing that you can do right now, because in, let's say, 5 years, when you're looking for your first, even if it's a part-time job, you have something that's really, really a strong representation of your personal brand and the knowledge and the ability that you bring. And it can open a lot of doors for you. And sometimes content creation can even become the door into your career. My cousin dates a full-time YouTuber, and he's doing far better than I am financially, by the way. I don't know. It's really impressive. Seeking mentorship is something that I've always been a big proponent of. I've been super fortunate in my life that when I was at 13, 14 years old, I started to have the first mentors in my life really roll in. People who weren't my parents, let's put it that way, coming into my life and really just showing me ways of leading my life, ways of communicating, ways of relating to other people. There is one of my mentors told me when I was finishing high school that you can learn from your own mistakes. That's one fairly fast way of learning in life. But to learn from the mistakes of others is a whole new gear to get into when it comes to learning, because you could be learning from not just one mentor and what they've done, the good and bad moments of their life. You could be learning from 3, 4, 5 different people, and that just continues to add layers to your own development. So seeking mentorship, doesn't have to sound as formal as it is, but look for people that you would like to learn from. And sometimes you're going to learn at a distance. I learn from a distance by listening to other podcasts. I learn from a distance by reading other people's newsletters. I don't actually necessarily know all the people that I'm learning from, but in some cases I do. And you can actually create those relationships where those people have a very direct impact on your life and it's very personal. Excuse me. And then, big thing here is just to start to think consciously about who you are. And I can already tell from the questions you guys are asking that you are thinking consciously about who you are and who you are becoming. You can notice growth if you are tuned in to do that. I heard recently from someone named Dr. Ben Hardy, who's a writer on Medium, has become kind of one of the big voices in psychology on Medium, talking about every 9 months or so, he can see big changes in his children. He's got, I think, 5 of them. So if you're just tuned in to noticing growth as it comes around, that is how you continue to develop your stories, which makes you a better and better job candidate and grows your career even more. So I wanted to give you just a quick heads up as far as where you can find me. I'd be more than happy to take any questions. I will take more questions now, but if you guys would like to connect after this, I'd be more than happy to. Anu is kind of already led by example on that, and we have been able to connect just in the same way that I'm offering to do so now. So just want to welcome you guys into that space. So that's where you can find me out on the World Wide Web. Otherwise, I am so thankful to be here and to have had this opportunity to speak with you. And I'm here to answer whatever comes up for you now.
And Mike is very approachable through LinkedIn. Me and Mike didn't even know each other before we connected through LinkedIn. So definitely all of them have LinkedIn accounts, and I do encourage all of them to, most of them do. And I do encourage them to connect with whichever speaker they felt the connection with, and just introduce themselves and let them know where they came from.
Amazing.
Yeah, so perfect. With that note I'm sure there are questions, so raise your hands and ask away. And don't be shy.
No.
Any questions in regards to your careers? I was actually curious about what Mayura, Tanuja, I'll come back to you, but what Mayura mentioned about hesitancy for change, and I really wanted to dig into that and ask Mayura this question as to, do you feel, what is it that, Mayura B, what is it about change that worries you? Or maybe my question should be, do you already have a set path with your career? Do you feel like you know what you want to do and worried that set path might not be a set path?
No, I still have no clue what I want to be when I grow up.
So what is it about that change that scares you're worried about?
Just the fact that the fact that the change can either lead to success right away, or we're going to fail and then succeed. It can be a little scared and frustrating to fail. So that's the hesitancy.
Yeah. Could I ask a quick follow-up question to that? That was a really great point you just made. how would you describe your perspective of failure? What does that mean to you?
Right now.
Yeah.
Just that maybe I didn't succeed to the expectation that I had, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Like I guess maybe Mike, you're asking, is not handing in a piece of homework, is that considered failure according to you? Or your report card? What is it? I guess Mike is trying to understand what is failure according to you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess not getting like a failure mark itself is failure, or if as I said before, it's not reaching, not succeeding to the expectation I had, or not handing in homework on time or something, I guess, is failure to me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And what's the sort of worst case scenario or worst outcome that could come around from that if you didn't hand in some homework on time?
I mean, it isn't going to be a huge consequence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. So you're alluding to something there in terms of some failures are quite small and they don't really have a big impact on our lives overall. And some failures will feel much bigger. And in all cases, failure can be redirected in terms of being a learning experience for you to then go ahead and learn, okay, I'll do it a little bit differently this time and see if the result comes out in a different way. And if it turns out that I get the same result doing something different, it means I need to try something else once again. But the whole idea of where I'm going with this is our relationship to failure often determines how open we are to change, and being comfortable with not getting it right the first time is a big part of growth. Great points though. Very understandable fear of failure. We all have that. It's very much conditioned into us. It's kind of programmed. You must pass, you must go for the A, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, especially in our community.
Yep.
I don't know about this generation, but my parents, a 90 was a fail. Like, wait, what just happened there? Why'd you get that extra 10? Where did
That's generation too.
Oh yeah, you feel that?
Yeah.
Oh wow. I don't know if my kids feel that, but I should ask them. All right. Well, thank you for sharing, Mayura. I think but what you just shared, and it was just out of curiosity, because that's something, as you keep moving along, I mean, I don't want to, maybe I'm just saying it the wrong way, but I teach you, so I hope I can be quite frank. I hope that people fail fast. By fail fast, I mean, just try. What's the worst that can happen? Like, you're alive, your family's great, everything's going, and you just learned something, right? So for me, I wish for my students to always learn something new. And if that means we lost a bit of money, we, lost some time, well, we learned something. So we can just flip. And so what Mike said is great. Just flip that mindset into, we learned something new, and we'll just move along. So thank you for that. Thank you, Mayura. Tanuja, you had a question. And then Mayura, I.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, what's your biggest tip to present yourself and sell yourself to an interviewer?
To an interviewer. So the biggest tip that I would give is understanding what are the real concerns and motives of the interviewer, digging in to have an understanding of that, and matching those concerns to a solution that you can provide if you were to be hired as a candidate. That is sort of the baseline fundamental core thought around sales, is understand your buyer, in this case, the person who might hire you. Understand what keeps them up at night, understand what they really want, their hopes, dreams, desires. And it doesn't necessarily have to be that personal, because it's probably more in a business context that you're operating in. But if the real goal, for example, of the person who is going to be hired for this job that they're interviewing for, if the goal is to enhance the communication between the company and its clients, like to increase the level of customer service and bring the overall sort of customer retention level up? So are people who are hiring this company, do they feel like their needs are really being met? Can you speak into that story? And can you give a story from your own life of a time when you helped solve that problem? Because this is to the point again about kind of storytelling. Let me elaborate on this a little bit. Like a story is basically a hero character encounters a problem and then finds some sort of a solution, often through a guide. And in this case, when you're interviewing for a job, the employer is the hero. They have a problem and they're trying to solve that problem with a guide, and you are the guide. You're not the hero in the story. So if you take up that position of being the guide and understanding the hero and the issues that they're facing, that will leave a very powerful impression on an employer. It's a great
Thank you.
question. Yeah.
Mayura, I. And then Suryansh, I saw your hand too.
So when you're trying out new positions in a career, when do you, I know we just talked about failure, but when do you think it's like time to just call it quits? Like what's the moment where you say, this isn't for me?
Yeah, great question. So I'm a big fan of experimenting in your career, and especially early on, sort of the idea of failing fast is something that's true for me too. The kind of the time frame right now that I would advise a lot of people on to consider is the sort of 6 to 12 month mark. That range is important because in those first 6 months, you're only starting to really, in the first 3 months, you're really learning. You're in a pure learning mode with most jobs, and you're trying to understand the culture. You're trying to understand the role. What are the intricacies of it? How can I make my work more efficient? And then usually at around the 6 month mark, you start to actually develop a level of productivity and a sense of contribution and purpose that is hopefully in alignment with the expectations you had when you took the job. And if you aren't feeling that after 6 months, that's okay. I would say go another 6 months and sort of see how are you now that you have a pretty good command of the role, and does it really line up with the values that you have as a person, with the real interests that you have in your career and where you want it to go. At that point, I think you'll have most of the cards on the table and you can make an educated decision. Great. Another great question. You guys are fantastic.
Suryansh, you had a question?
Yes. So I was wondering what kind of companies need a software engineer.
Oh, that's a loaded question. Literally, almost everyone now. Let me answer your question with a bit of a story from my professional life. The school that I work for, we have students graduating in software development. We have students graduating in network security, like computer networking and security. We have students who have a blend of those skills. We have students who are more IT project managers. We have a few students who are video game specialists. And the easiest kind of student for us to find work for is the web developer group. And you can go on Indeed right now and find just page after page of job postings for web developers. They're everywhere right now. And they are all in different companies, as Anu kind of referred to, because software is becoming such an integral part of how it's called the digitization of business. Things that used to only exist in the physical world as a brick and mortar thing. Like, let's just take banking as an example, right? If you wanted to go and do some banking 50 years ago, you'd walk into a physical branch, there'd be a human teller there, and all of those elements would be in play. And now I almost never have to speak to a bank teller. Even though I wouldn't necessarily call banking, it's not necessarily the most tech-driven industry historically, it has become a lot more tech-driven, and more industries are going in that direction. So honestly, right now, web developers, it is like a golden era for them. So anywhere your heart desires, keep an eye out, because there's probably someone out there looking for someone like you.
Yeah. And you can learn it now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm learning software engineering, so
Yeah, I mean, what I'm saying is I don't think you need to wait to get your bachelor's in computer science and all that to start. I think there's so many tools like Coursera, Udemy, which is like $15 courses that can teach you how to set up your own web page, how to, even about artificial intelligence and everything. So it's just your curiosity. I don't think anymore money is just not the reason to not learn, because there are these cheap and Mike was saying content is king. There's a lot of people who's putting out great content as well. So you can start now. You can even start applying for jobs now.
Yep.
Anyone else? Any questions? Jason?
I'll stop my screen share if that kind of helps facilitate the viewing for everyone else.
Is there any questions? I don't think I'm missing anyone. Yep. Okay. I think everyone seems to have their questions answered. So thank you so much again, Mike, I just wanted to ask if I can just take one quick picture.
Sure.
Yeah, with everyone, if you're smiling, maybe a thumbs up, something like that. Hold on one second. I'll tell you when, because I've got 2 screens here today. And I just need to get this. Okay, hold on. Okay, perfect. Thumbs up. All right, thank you. Thank you so much again, Mike. I really do appreciate the time because I know your time is precious and you're moving and you've got all these gigs going on the side. So thank you very much. And I love what you're doing. It is going to make a huge difference to, not just one person, but many, many people because it's connected to even mental health, which is very close to my heart as well. People lost after university, students who are not sure where to go and are forced to figure out what they're supposed to do. What you're doing out there in the community is just changing their mindsets and saying, we can do this together. And I love the part that you mentioned that your career is not just one thing anymore. Like gone are the days that you're an accountant and that's all you are. You can just keep evolving. And that's the beautiful part about this generation, that this generation has. So thank you so much for bringing that into perspective.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
I'll connect with you later.
Sounds great, Anu. You guys have a great class. All right. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. You guys are going to be awesome.
Thanks, Mike.
See ya.
All right. So with that, my Tuesday class, you're free to go. My Sunday class, you still stay. See ya, guys.
Bye.
See ya. I think Shangit is on the road. I saw him in a car.
So he has, then how is he? Oh yeah, because some codes you get internet, right?
Or he's
Sorry?
He probably has a code with internet in it. Because how would he connect?
Oh, it's data.
Oh yeah.
Data. Yeah.
There's some codes with like internet you can buy, like it comes with it.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. So what did you guys think? How was it today?
Good.
You can talk. You can remove your mic.
There's a lot of information.
I figured some of you might get lost. He has so much. I don't know if you heard his podcast. Has anyone? Kavya, you must have. Yeah. Just got so much information and the fact that he's helping kids is just phenomenal. So definitely, if you do listen to podcasts, definitely listen to it. That's one of them that I would recommend. But is there anything that confused you about what he said or that you were too shy to ask? You can definitely ask me and I'll try and explain if I can.
Oh, Sanjit said something, chat. I'm in the car at a soccer field.
Oh, I see. Okay. All right.
Makes sense.
Yeah. So anyone has any questions about or something that confused you about what he said? While I store this picture. No, got it? Oh, yes, Tanuja.
He mentioned a point, it said, think about being the ideal candidate before the job is even posted. I know. I was sort of confused about that statement. Like,
Right.
what do you mean before? Like, could you just explain it a bit?
Yeah, it's about you're practicing for a particular opportunity. So 20 years ago, we used to study for a job. So we would study for software engineering. We would study, well, medicine, you just need to, right? But I'd say software engineering. We would study to become a software engineer. We would study to become a performing artist, whatever it is, right? And then we could apply for those jobs, and those were the jobs that are there.
Yeah.
Nowadays, there's a shift where they focus more on skill sets than on the job title. So for example, Google, Facebook, and all that, if you go in and just look at their job titles, they'll have customer client experience, customer success, AI specialist, data integrator specialist, these are like niche, these are jobs that are underneath like software engineering, maybe like under software engineering, there's data integration specialist, there's all those different things. But they mostly tell you that this is the skill we're looking for. We're looking for someone who can talk to businesses, understand what their needs are, convert them into concept models and all that. So what you would be doing is developing those skills. You're not necessarily going to school to study to be a software engineer, but you have developed the skills through courses like this about communication, through your volunteer jobs, where you're put in a spot where you have to create your own web page, or that you have to, maybe build two systems and make sure those two systems connect. You never studied for it, but by taking volunteer opportunities and by raising your hand and say, I'm going to try this, you are accumulating skills. Then all of a sudden, you'll see this job post and they'll be like, oh, these are the skills I'm looking for, and I have those skills.
Okay, so it's basically just developing your skills so that you can apply them to any career you want.
Yeah, because more and more the Googles and the Facebooks are realizing just university education is not enough, because these, people are ensuring that I get A grades, but I'm just memorizing the facts. I'm putting everything on paper at that particular time. But then when it comes to, if you go, I've been interviewed by LinkedIn and Google, is very case study oriented. It's very, it's extremely case study, and extremely, there's no, you can't memorize concepts and come to them, right? And then they want you to present, they put you in real life situations where you have to interact with the client and everything as well. They're make-believe client. So similar to what Agnes did with you, Tanuja, last time, where she would say, no, these are real life interviews that they're doing in Google and Facebook and LinkedIn for sure, 100%, where they put you in those situations where someone will come into the office and look, so they'll say, do a presentation, and you're expecting to do a presentation for this happy person. They'll walk in and be like, go for it. I only have 2 minutes. What do you have to say? They're just pretending to see how you will act under pressure. So these are, again, skill sets that you learn through experience. And so that's what he means by becoming that ideal candidate that Anu wants, or that LinkedIn wants.
Okay, I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No problem. All right, if there are no more questions, so next class is Sharon Muthu, and Tanuja, I think you are going to be presenting, and you've got your leadership team. I know Siron's your backup, if anything, with anything for any of the roles. So thank you, Siron, for that. Other than that, I did share the invite with a couple of other coordinators at iLeap, so they might just show up as well. She is, just because she's a big name, I figure more audience is better. But you guys all make sure that your videos are on. Some of them might, choose to switch off their videos, but all of you make sure your videos are on so that she can see you. And that's how she interacts best, by seeing people. Okay? So I hope you all are going to make it. And she's promised it's going to be good. She's talking about 3 computers, and I'm like, okay, I don't know, just go for it. Because she's a voiceover artist and she has a home studio, and therefore it's imperative for them to have a really good voice box and everything. And because of COVID, she's created everything in her own home now. She has to. Otherwise, you won't get all those cartoon shows that she's on, I guess. All right, with that, I will start. Let's start talking about where we left off last time, which was giving an evaluation about each one's video. Let me go back in. So there's, if you can go to the Google document. So I think it was, okay, Kavya, you weren't able to do it, were you?
I finished it. It's on a separate doc, so should I copy paste it on?
Yeah, if you can copy paste it, that would be much appreciated so everyone can see it. So we'll, why don't you copy paste it?
We're missing Ashwin's.
Yeah, Ashwin
He,
has.
I checked the version history. He's been on it though. So he probably did it on a separate doc.
Okay, and Ashwin was supposed to give an evaluation for you, Nitin.
Yes.
Okay, all right, so we'll leave that to the end. And Siron, were you able to get yours in?
Yeah, I wrote my evaluation on the paper, like on the doc.
On the doc. Okay, perfect. All right, so we've got everyone's. So let's go ahead and start. How did you find, first of all, let me just ask, how did you find evaluating with the criteria? Did you find it pushed you to be a better evaluator? It challenged you? Did you find it overwhelming? Did you say, this is easy? Yes, Mayurai.
I think actually like giving out the layout of what you're supposed to be looking for made it way easier, because
Okay.
before it's like, you have to try and find something, be a little bit more creative and work on your own of what your own opinion is and how they can improve. But given like steps of what you're looking for, say the basics of like, this is what you did wrong, this is what you did great, and then it gives you a lot more leeway of saying how can you actually like fix it.
Right. Okay, that's awesome. Anyone else? Yeah, Tanuja?
Yeah,
And Sindhuja
I also found like the layout a lot easier because it gave us more specifics that we had to focus on so that we knew like each area we could tell something that they either did good or they could improve on in some way. So it's helpful.
Okay, awesome. Sindhuja, did you want to say something?
I found it helpful because normally when we're like doing evaluations, we would say they spoke clearly, they spoke loud, next time they should practice memorizing. Like we normally say that a lot, but we don't get into detail. But with the questions, it really helped with that.
Okay, awesome, perfect. So then with that, why don't we look at our first evaluation? So our first evaluation was from Kavya to Sindhuja. So let's, Kavya, why don't we maybe talk through it? So what are the good and what are the areas of improvement? For some of them, I've actually gone ahead and read it and asked the evaluator to give more examples, but go for it, Kavya. Why don't we go through this? You're muted, by the way, yeah.
So it was overall a great video that you had. You covered most of the criteria, which was good. Just a few improvements. So.
Sorry, just 1 second. You keep going, Kavya. I just have a phone call, okay?
Okay. So what you did good was, it was a clear introduction. I can clearly identify all your points, your introduction, and your conclusion. And you also included how easy and quick it would be to make simple meals like omelets. Your goal was clear and your reasons were clearly stated. A few improvements that you could try to include next time is try adding facts and expert opinions on why we should cook our own food. Like, for example, research shows that people who regularly eat home-cooked meals are generally happier and healthier. You could have added something like that. Your video also felt a little bit repetitive. So you added a lot of rhetorical questions and then answered them. That was kind of the whole speech. Next time, add in more facts and, like I said before, expert opinions. Also, when you said that we could make simple meals like omelets, try actually showing us an omelet. That would have been really convincing, because we know that, oh, this person actually knows how to cook. They can do this. I want to listen to you. Your goal was clear. However, I wasn't really convinced that to cook my own meals. Personally, I would rather like have my parents cook meals or buy something, especially since it takes a really long time. I'd rather cook easy stuff like cookies. So next time you should incorporate, you should like, I don't know how to say this. Show that you understand why people may not want to cook their food. So like people may be afraid to cut themselves with a knife, or they may not have time. So just try addressing these issues and sharing stories, personal stories about. I also found your conclusion a little bit weak, because you just said, I hope this video, blah, blah, blah. So try summarizing your points and ending with a call to action. Otherwise, it was a pretty good video, and I hope you take all these points and improve it next time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Welcome.
All right, sorry about that. I had an urgent phone call that I needed to take. I didn't have a chance to read through this. So basically by reading through this, are you able to make any changes, Sindhuja? Because I did watch yours about cooking, and I wish I had learned cooking at that age. I think it's a very important skill. So it's about adding facts and showing research on home-cooked meals. Okay, that sounds good. Your video felt a little bit repetitive. You asked rhetorical questions and then answered them. Try to cut down on the questions. Yes, I do agree with that. Try showing yourself making an omelet to emphasize. So that try showing yourself making an omelet to emphasize. This is, I think, so there's two areas. There's one which is delivery, the way Sindhuja you delivered, which sounded strong. I think it's your video and what you were trying to showcase. I think you should have, personally for me, if we're doing home cooked meals, I follow a lot of people who do home cooked meals, and they show the meal at first. They show themselves behind a counter, they show themselves as the chef, right? So I think that video quality to encourage people to make, you know, the last question where I say, are you as a speaker the one that we want to follow, right? So you need to show yourself as that chef. Right? I've got my counter ready. I'm ready, and here you go. This is what I'm here to advise you on. So that's how I would kind of change that, just to show that you are the expert in that area. Yeah, the conclusion as well. Did you suggest what the conclusion should be, Kavya?
I said try summarizing the points and conclude with a call to action.
Yeah. Did you have any suggestions?
No.
You can talk about going to university and managing yourself, right? And being able to stay healthy. So summarizing as in imagine yourself being healthy, going to university, learn. I know I'm just saying this off the cuff, but when you're summarizing, Sindhuja, you're summarizing the benefit. So you're just making people realize, oh, wow, okay, this is the new me. You can be the new you, or you can be an independent person, whatever you're trying to promote, that benefit at the end, that conclusion should kind of, it can be a call to action, go for it, do it. And it can also be a benefit focused conclusion. Do you know what I mean? Like, what is the benefit of knowing how to cook at the end of the day? to a student, right? Versus eating, you're competing with pizzas, burgers, fries, and home cooked meal, right? And time. So what is the benefit? So if you can change that to a benefit conclusion, do you understand what I'm trying to say, Sindhuja?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. So if you can, would you be motivated to redo the video?
Sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
A quick video? Again, I mean, you don't have to put all sorts of effort into it. I just better than your last version, right? So like I said, in front of a meal, there's an angle. Do you have a tripod or anything, like a small tripod or anything?
No.
No, okay. It's always good to invest in a tripod. I don't know, is there anyone over here who is planning on applying to McDonald's or Burger King or Harvey's for, no, I know Nathan, you can't, but I know there's 14-year-old, yeah, Mayura, I think they're doing interviews now all online. So I would highly encourage you to get a ring light if you can. And I know in Amazon, my kids got it. We got it for them for $100, and I think it's a great investment because you'll be using it for 3, 4, 5 years. So $100 for 5 years is pretty good. A ring light and just a nice background at the back. Because you're competing, unfortunately, it's not just what you wear. Now it's how professional you look, and it makes a huge difference. And don't use the Zoom, if it's Zoom, don't use the Zoom virtual backgrounds, right? That's vital because the Zoom virtual backgrounds make you look very like choppy. So that's just advice. And so Sindhuja, for you, for video storytelling, I think it's a great investment. A tripod, but you don't have to, not for this class, you don't have to. Maybe you can put like a few books, like layer so many books, and then you can use that as your tripod for now. But even tripods, they're pretty cheap. If you look up Amazon tripod for cell phones or selfie sticks are okay. They're pretty good price.
What I do is I get like a phone stand if you also like, just as a tip, like it's like $2 on Amazon, and it literally just holds your phone up, and I stack books and I use it as like a tripod.
Yeah.
But an alternative.
Yeah. And this is an investment for your future, right? When you do, we don't know when the next pandemic is going to happen. So if you have to do a video call interview, you're set. And always look at the camera. You're ready. You're just ready for it. Okay? So those are the small changes. And of course, the conclusion, I did feel like the conclusion can be benefit-driven conclusion. Okay, with that, let's go to, oh, where did my screen go? Oh, of course, second screen. Mayura B on Kavya's speech. Do you guys feel it's best to watch the speech and then give the evaluation so that you all know what it is about? Yeah? Okay.
Like watch the video and then
Yeah,
give.
so that when Mayura B is talking about Kavya's speech, then you guys know what she's talking about rather than just giving an evaluation. I think that might help. So why don't I, let's watch Sindhuja's, because apologies, we didn't watch Sindhuja's. So let's do that.
Watch it separately or?
Yeah, do you guys have it, or you guys have my email with Sindhuja? Oh, I can just post it here.
The link is
It's all linked in doc.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay, so do you want to look at Sindhuja's, and then do you also want to look at who's the next person? So, Kavya's. So watch both. And if you guys don't have the link, just let me know. I'll put it in the chat. You guys good? Thumbs up. Maybe you can use the reactions.
I just feel like 10 more seconds to finish watching the video.
Okay, yeah. Perfect. Mayura I is good. Mayura B is good. Kavya Matharan's good. Okay, Tanuja, you good?
My mom just called me. She said there's like an urgent family. So
Sorry?
She just told me that I have to leave right now because there's an urgent family thing that arrived. So.
Oh, okay.
Sorry about that.
No, that's okay.
Okay.
Hope everything's okay.
Yeah, see you guys.
Yeah. Okay, how about the rest of you? Are you guys ready?
I'm watching the second one.
Okay, you're
Kavya's.
watching Kavya's, okay. Dahlia, Siran, Sandhya.
Yeah, I've watched both.
Okay. Sindhuja, you good? Yeah? Okay. Okay, perfect. Dahlia, you good? Yeah, okay. So Mayura B, why don't we go ahead and you read the comments?
Okay. Kavya's speech was really good, and her specific goal was very clear, and it moved the audience's reaction, or at least it moved my reaction. She used excellent emotional language to motivate the audience, like stressing on the words that need to be stressed, such as like now, could be in the future, and like that. And that really brought the audience's attention. I also wanted to say that it's good that you didn't use monotone and you used vocal variation. And she was very effective in in establishing her credibility, because it was clear that she did a lot of research on the topic. And I was convinced by the goal, since this goal was really clear. It was a very effective and attention-grabbing introduction, and she had a very appropriate, vivid, and empathetic language, and she had a very convincing delivery. Now for the improvements, I felt that she presented the reasons pretty clearly. However, she could have elaborated more on how we shouldn't let our grades decide our future, such as like having 3 steps for second and third. Also, it wasn't noticeable that the facts or expert opinions were used to support her reasons, so I suggest that she uses them in the future. And lastly, I was able to notice the introduction, but the body and conclusion could have been more organized. Like, you could have added 3 steps, as I mentioned before, for the body, to have a clear body, and for the conclusion, it felt really quick, just 1 sentence. So you can summarize some parts of your introduction and put that in your conclusion as well to have more noticeable conclusion. But overall, it was an awesome speech and great job with delivering the message in under a minute.
Awesome. And is 80 really a fail?
I was pretty confused for that too.
In which school is 80 a fail? Or 79? Is it true? I'm just asking, because I wasn't aware of it.
Maybe it's a fail in our community. Maybe she's.
So then you are so. So then your niche is our community then, or is it just general? Because if a white kid saw this and then they'd be like, 79, I think I did pretty good. right? So that's kind of that. Again, Kavya, you're in school right now, so you know better than me, who's been in school just, a few years ago, where when I studied, a 50 was a, ooh, where am I? Sorry. A 50 was a fail. So, sorry, I just lost my video. I don't know if you guys can see me feeling lost.
You look
Okay,
looking
right.
very different.
You can see me?
Yeah. we
Okay,
can see.
all right. So, the reason I ask is because for me, when you said 79, I thought that's not fail, that's great, right? And I might be like, oh, she's probably a very high achieving person. So is your target audience someone who's a high achiever, who's
Yeah.
used to getting 100 and now all of
Yeah.
a sudden got a 79? Okay,
Yeah.
if that is your target audience, then you need to kind of say it. You need to show it, because there's a few different target audience. There's the one that does so well in school and they always get their hundreds and the 98, and now all of a sudden, but then again, if they are used to getting the hundreds and 98s, then why do they need to get an 80 to pass? They don't need an 80 to pass. They'll still go to the next grade because they've got the 100. So that, even though don't get me wrong, your introduction was really good, I was just confused which audience, because with videos, your first 7 seconds, people are going to judge whether they want to hear you or not, right? So either you resonate with that person who will truly feel like a 79 is a fail because they're so used to getting 100, and then you have to change your verbiage as to an 80 is not a fail, but you feel like a failure, right? Do you understand what I mean? But if your target audience is people who study so hard, but they still can't make it, then you need to change your verbiage, your content to say that. You see, there's 2 target audience already. I can think of more, but I'm not going to confuse you. There's 2 right now. Mayura B wanted to say something.
Yeah, I was also gonna say how Anu said, maybe change how you said it. Also, if you want to relate to others, maybe just change the number to a 49, because that's 1 mark under 50. Or what you could do what Anu said. I just want to give a suggestion.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great suggestion. Yeah, because with videos, and even though if it's a 1-minute video, with videos, that is highly critical. That first few seconds, because people are just going to switch. I'm not showing you the number of when you have your own YouTube account and when you upload videos, I can tell at what point of your video people drop. So people drop in the first 20 seconds, the first 30 seconds. So you might have 200 views, people would view it, but then when you do analytics on the video, you can tell, yes, they viewed your video, but they dropped in your first 10 seconds. That means your video hasn't yet captured people's attention. They need to stay till the whole 1 minute, right? And really listen to what your solution is, okay? So I would really encourage you to change it, but I really liked your introduction. Just maybe change the numbers, at least for me. That was good. And the 3, so Mayura mentioned the 3 3 steps. Yeah, that's also good. Yeah. So if you can change up that video. Also, this is just, I know I'm starting to get a little picky, but it's okay. Make sure that when you have a light, the reflection doesn't show up, because that big light reflection was on your wall. So try and find another background maybe. And dress up, right? Dress up. You don't have to dress up formal. I'm not asking you to, do the whole white and black thing and all that. No, just dress up to show that you understand how it is to dress up like a student. But I'm not asking you to do white and black in uniform style or anything of that. So I just, a lot less casual than what you are, right? Just try that. I'm sure you've got some in that closet of yours. Oh, I lost them.
Anu's frozen, but I can hear her. Is that the same as the others?
Yeah, that's what I have too.
Yeah.
Can she see it?
Yeah, I heard her say they're all frozen. But on my end, only she's frozen.
Yeah, same.
Same here.
She's 100% frozen.
Unless she's a really good actor and she can blink for
There is a thing where people do that in class because they forgot to do their work.
Oh yeah.
Pretend to freeze, yeah.
Oh,
she left.
Why don't we just go watch?
Oh, it's
Oh, she's gone. Okay.
as a host now.
Not the thing. Someone else's host.
Yeah, it says Dahlia as the host.
Yeah.
Okay, well, the next one is Mother and Evaluating Shangeet. So why don't we just watch Shangeet's video until she comes back?
And then, yeah. Who? Shangeet. Okay. Did Shangeet do a thing in this?
I don't know. Oh, she's back. There she is.
Yeah, she's back.
Mute this.
I might, the internet is going down and up for me.
Probably construction.
I'm trying to hotspot and try to, oh, I find it. Okay, never mind.
Well, we're going to watch the video. Kasanji.
Watch
She's
it.
frozen again. She's frozen again. What is
Just
this? Yeah.
She unfroze for a second, then she's now frozen. Now she's unfrozen.
She's back.
Okay.
Are you guys able to see me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, our internet just dropped and I'm hotspotting, so hopefully this will work. You got all my data. All right, let's move on to the next one. Madhuran's comment on Shangeet's speech. So why don't we look at Shangeet's speech? And
Yeah, that's what we're doing.
Oh,
Yeah.
perfect, perfect. I love it, love it.
Self-sufficient.
Yes, perfect. That's how I want you guys to be.
I need to put my volume up because there's a part where I can't hear him.
Oh, you can mute yourself though, while you.
I don't think it's you guys talking. I think it's just my thing's quiet.
I just wanted to know how Sangeet was able to have transparent images on his video while he was talking at the same time.
What?
Like having transparent, having images while he's talking.
I'm pretty sure it's like you have to make the images small or something. I forgot. It's something to edit the image. That's all I know.
Is this like
Wait,
on the computer?
Use iMovie, you can do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but is this only on the computer? Can you do this on a phone too?
Probably
I'm
on the
not
phone.
sure about that.
It's still iMovie's an iMovie, so it's harder probably.
Did you guys use like a MacBook or something?
I'm
Yeah, use my Mac.
using.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
using this. I use iMac now.
Yeah. Oh, then
To edit videos?
no.
No,
to-
the images.
And he's talking.
Edit image.
I did on my phone. There's like an app called Videoleap, and you can just import images and put it wherever you want.
Did you say Video Leap?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's if you if you use it correctly, you don't have to pay for it. It will, like, if you use a lot of effects, it might tax you when you're exporting.
Wait, so he said something. I removed the background, then overlapped the picture on top. Oh, I know he did. I know he did. So what he did was he removed. So you know, it's like Photoshop technically. He just removed the whole background, just placed the image over it.
Oh.
So yeah, it's technically Photoshop. So I don't know. Whatever he used, I don't know.
So Shangeet, if you're hearing us, can you tell us which software you used? I think that would help.
It can't be. Actually, it could.
No, let Shangit message, because I think this is, if he can hear us. But in the meantime, you said Video Leap, right? And then there's Filmora that, did you try Filmora? Is Filmora able to do that or no?
You said
Doesn't
video.
Filmora
Leap.
have like
You're
a
also the
huge
video leap.
watermark?
Yeah, I never tried this, but Sangeet called me a week ago or so, asking if I knew how to take out the watermark in Filmora 9, because apparently there's this huge watermark that goes across.
Yeah, like it goes through half the video.
Yeah.
Oh, I think Madhuran and Kavya have a suggestion.
Yeah,
Video
so we
leap's just
both
easier
used
because you already.
Filmora 9 for our videos, and basically how we took out the watermark was in the video editor, we like screen recorded our screen, and then we went to some online like video cropper and just crop the editor out. So it's just like
Right.
actual video.
That's
Oh, that's a lot of work with that. Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
We're looking for easy. Oh no, why am I frozen?
You're back.
No, you're good.
You probably get like cracked versions for Filmora though,
Yeah.
because there's probably a lot of them.
Wait, Anu, I have a question.
Yes, Nathan.
Is my evaluation gonna be like, am I gonna see it like next week if he does it?
We'll ask Ashwin when he's coming. There, I don't think we'll get through all of the evaluations. So yeah. Okay, so why don't we go with what Madhuran said about Shangit?
He used Adobe Premiere.
Oh, okay. No, it looks like he mentioned he used Adobe Premiere
Yeah.
which is a paid software, I believe.
I feel like there's a free version of it, because mostly it's paid.
We're looking for.
Yeah, I
easy.
mean, yeah, there are free versions for certain things, but then they're very limited, and it takes, I find with the free versions, you're spending a lot of time editing, and especially with you guys, content is going to be huge, and especially video content. So if you're going to invest
Oh,
in
I think it's free.
It's free apparently.
It's free. It's free.
Yeah, but you know, the video quality compared to, if you look at the video quality of other, like the students who really invest in it, there's going to be a difference. So I'm just saying, no pressure, don't even think about investing. But if you are considering, and if you're particularly like Mayura, going to be interviewing, and trust me, some of the good places, they even ask for video interviews, record yourself and send it. I'm not talking about McDonald's, Harvey's, Burger King, not those places, but there are other places, especially for-profit organizations who open up summer opportunities for high school students. They have a higher caliber. And especially because now, let me just say this. If I am LinkedIn in Canada, I can hire people from India, I can hire people from USA, from anywhere, from Europe, right? I'm not limited to only my Canadian students. So you are competing with those people. So your video quality has to be really good. So do your research and then go for it. Okay, so with that said, let's do Madhuran.
So first of all, for Sangeet's video, I found him like very engaging, and he was like really enthusiastic with a lot of like great expression and emphasis with certain sentences. One thing I picked out like specifically was the story he said about how she had to work twice as hard to get it back. And he sounded like very confident, and also had his 3 reasons and clearly stated them. And I was like able to like easily pick those out, like take a break and go outside, work on time management, and like have a good sleep schedule. A few improvements I would give were to have more expert opinions to like back up your facts, and also the ending of the video, like the quote, "Your peaceful mind will make more healthier lives." It's a good quote, but I'm not sure if it really fits the theme of your presentation about improving yourself, in my opinion. So I try to find a quote that would make sense for your topic, rather than a topic that just sounds good. right? So try and have a quote that relates. And oh yeah, one more main improvement I would say is talk a little bit slower, because your introduction, like, it was really good, but I feel like if you talked a little bit slower, it would have been much more effective, and the whole video would have been a lot more engaging to watch. But overall, I feel like it was like a really lively and engaging speech, and I loved it a lot.
Awesome. And did you guys notice the audio quality when he was
Going
actually?
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, go ahead. It has to stay the same, right? The audio quality has to stay the same. I felt like great shot, great basketball shot, by the way. I don't know how many times he had to try for his first shot. But the quality, the audio quality, so you will have to overlay you'll have to do that voiceover for a better video quality, audio quality, sorry, if Shangit's listening. So if you can maybe put that in, Madhuran, in the comments about the change in audio quality and to make that change so Shangit can see it whenever he reads it. Oh, he got it on his first try. All right. And you are right. Now I see a full view of Shangit. I'm like, oh my God, he's tall. All right. Shangit, I assume you can't talk. So let's look at Dahlia's, and then one of you can read Shangit's comments.
He said that he needs to leave now.
One of you can read on his behalf. Okay, Mayura, yeah, you can read on his behalf.
I'll read it. Oh, no.
Is everyone done watching the video?
No, sorry.
Okay, yeah, keep watching. And then just in the reactions, just put a thumbs up. So I know Mayura B and Dahlia are done. And Nitin, yeah. Does anyone need more time? Okay, Mayura, yeah. Okay. Madhuran, Kavya, you good?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Siran, you good? Sindhuja, you good? Yeah, okay, perfect. All right, Mayura, why don't you go ahead and read it?
So first, Shangi's did your positives. So he said, I think you're successful in describing what online schooling and in-schooling mean at the start of your speech. And then he said, even when you used only even when you only use two differences when saying the differences between the two, I think you may have made them think for a little to decide on the decision properly. He worded that quite strangely.
Yeah, even when you only use two differences when saying the differences between the two, I think you may have made them think for a little to decide on the. Oh, so he as an I am interpreting it as he as an audience member. He put it as a positive though. Even when you only use two differences, which is online school and in school, I think you may have made them think for a little to decide on their decision properly. So I don't know why that's a positive if it takes time to make a decision. So let's leave that.
He said, I think that differences change the audience reaction. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I think you clearly stated your second reason and gave facts to support it. And then I think you used a lot of emotional language, you used a lot of tonal variation, and it made the audience listen more. So that's good. Your language was clear and had not triggered anyone in the audience, and your speaking pace was very nice.
Okay.
On to improvements. Okay, so he said that your introduction should have been more effective. To improve, you can ask a rhetorical question at the start of your speech or say a fact, like a did you know question.
Yep.
More confidently, stand up and speak louder to the audience. He said, I think your conclusion should have been more effective as well. Instead of ending with a thank you, try ending with a call to action. Finally, try to have eye contact and memorize your speech. I saw you looking down and looking somewhere else a lot, so try to look at your audience or the camera and remember your speech. That way you can speak better, more confidently, louder, and have eye contact the whole time. Overall, you did a very good speech.
Okay. Dahlia, did you understand the areas of improvement? Yeah. Do you think you can actually stand up? Do you have an environment where you can actually stand up?
Standing up.
You were?
Yeah.
Really? It looked like you were. Oh. Because it felt like you were so close to the camera. The angle looked like you were. And there's. I feel.
It does look.
It does
Is it
look
me?
like you're
Yeah.
sitting down.
It looks like she's leaning into the camera.
Yeah, I think that's why, because you were leading. Maybe put it farther away and step back.
Yeah.
Then talk.
So if you look at Kavya's video, she was standing up and speaking, so you can see her full body. And even if you have it up to this point, that's good enough. I mean, of course, you need to have the camera, but then you need to move further behind, right? So at least that way, and of course, it has to be up, right? At that angle. Do you understand? So you'll have to stack some books up because you're probably tall. Stack some books up and then use that.
He's frozen. Everyone's frozen.
What? Am I frozen?
No.
No.
Maya.
It's just
Maya.
Myra B's internet connection.
Oh, okay.
Because she's frozen to me.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she does look frozen. Is that how I looked when I was frozen? That word look. So Dahlia, if you can maybe do that, those are the small changes that you can make to the video. So keep your content. If I can challenge you with your content, which one did you prefer? Online versus or in school?
Probably in school.
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Probably in school.
You prefer in school?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. I can't hear you. I don't know. Is it your mic or is it?
Can you hear me now?
I think your mic is the one on the side. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. Maybe speak a little louder. But if you prefer in school, this is a persuasive speech. So you're talking about the decision you have to make, whether you want to go to online school or in school, and make it really strong for in school. And your call to action is go for it. Go to school. right? I mean, come on, Mayura I is asking us to swear. So, telling people to go to school, for sure, there's nothing wrong with that. And just be strong about that. That's something that I felt from your video. I still wasn't sure what you wanted to do, and I wasn't convinced. So your objective, your goal is to tell people one or the other. We have two choices. I think for these three reasons, you should go to in school. Although online school is great, you get to wake up at 9:30 in the morning and log on, and maybe you don't have to have your video on, and you can be like, oops, internet connection went down, all that fun stuff. But in school, you get to meet with your friends, you can, chit chat, it's just that whole long break that you had, enough of that. Now you can just go in and have fun, right? And learn maybe while you're at it. So just
It's very boring.
Yeah.
Sorry?
It's very boring in school.
Yeah, now because of COVID-19, we all have to social distance, and
No, it's
it's
okay.
super quiet. No one is talking besides the teacher. No
What?
one's talking unless
You don't have recess?
we get like a 15-minute break to go outside, but we still have to social distance outside. So like,
No, for us, if you wear a mask, you don't have to. So you can if you want to, if you like playing a game, like no tag, you can play like shadow tag. So that's the only thing we could really play. Unless you want to socialize.
Us, we don't even get a 15-minute break. You just listen in class and leave when it's lunchtime.
no, but
You only have 10.
What
Yeah,
board
it's
you
like-
guys?
Yeah, they go to Brookside.
Like, no, I don't go to Brookside. I go to FMM. So
Oh,
then
you
you just
changed?
go to
Oh, yeah,
school.
because you're in grade 9.
Yeah, you just go to school, sit down, learn whatever you have to learn, and leave at 11:30.
exactly. No,
That's same.
Are you? Because that's what high school
because
is.
that's high school. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but like, there's no
Because high school is
talking or
half-half.
anything. It's like she'll just give you an assignment, and then that's all you'll be doing. You won't talk or anything.
Half,
So it'll
half,
be
though,
so
so.
silent. It's like no one really wants to ask questions or anything
since we
unless
don't
it's
have
online, because you're scared, right? Like you don't want to. It's like when it's really silent, no one wants to talk because you don't want to interrupt the silence.
How many students are there in your class, Siran?
There's 12. Like yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, in my class there's 10. But
Are you guys TDSB?
30.
Oh,
Yeah.
it's just like 37.
For me, I haven't even started school yet.
Oh,
Wait,
wow.
what?
Oh yeah, I start this Tuesday.
Oh, is it because you're online? 100%?
Oh, yeah, online.
It's because I'm online, but also because of my board, and because I'm in high school.
Wait, what
Sorry,
board
which
do you go
board?
to?
Yeah.
I'm TDSB.
Oh, I go to YCDSB. So like my school started like 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, that's what everyone else said.
My school
board
started 2
started
weeks
last
ago.
week. This is the
Sorry,
first
which
week of
board,
school.
Siran?
YCDSB,
What is that?
York
opposite of
Catholic District School
TDSB.
Board.
Yeah.
Sorry, York what, Siran?
York Catholic District School Board.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
It's like a Catholic version of TDSB.
Thursday. My school is also TDSB. We started on Thursday though.
Oh, wow.
Mine starts
You
on
elementary
Tuesday.
school?
No,
What
high school. I'm actually going to school. That's why I started early. For my friends
Oh, okay.
fully
Yeah.
online, they also start on Tuesday. They didn't
Oh,
start.
wow. So Dahlia, why do
I
you
don't know
think
what grade
people
you're in.
should go to in school? Why do you, I mean, you clearly like to go to school. Are you doing online or are you doing in school?
I'm doing online.
Oh, so you can talk about how boring it is to do online, and that's why you want to go in school, where you've got all these people's opinion over here. You need to convince them, because I have a feeling most of them want to go to online. Do you guys want to go back online?
Well,
Now it's not.
for me, in person's a bit better because like once you're leaving the school, if you have any friends, you can at least like stay for 5-10 minutes and talk to them. But that's like the only time you're gonna talk to them. Not
We
during
can't
school
go all
time.
back because of COVID-19.
Like even during school time, I know that like if you're gonna go in the hallways, you're not gonna see anybody. It'll just be like a silent hallway.
Yeah,
So
we have lockers
I
now.
think
it's so scary.
Because of COVID, we have lockers now, so like it's fully silent. No
Oh,
kidding.
wow.
I think it's different because like the high school kids, like a lot of them, like that I've been friends with, choose online. Because if you want to hang out, like we're teenagers, we just go out and hang out ourselves.
You
can
can
go to the
only hang
mall.
out like
It's close
20
by.
Yeah,
people.
we'll, like go to the mall, laser tag, whatever. Like we can do
Right.
something ourselves instead of like going to school. so there was no point really.
Oh,
Yeah,
Dahlia, you have a
basically
lot of
a prison
convincing to do. Sindhija had something to say about it.
Yeah. So every year I'm not with my friends, and this year, like since I'm elementary, we have recess, and we can't hang out with our friends. We can only hang out with the people that are in our class, and all we can do is just stand there, social distance, because the teachers are always outside, and there's nothing to do because we can't play any games. And if we
Oh,
want
wow.
to, in like inside, if we want to play games, we have to sanitize each item. Like if cards, we have to sanitize all 52 cards.
You
For
have
us,
to
that makes
sanitize or
sense,
someone
yeah.
else sanitizes?
Whoever plays
Wait,
with
I have a
it.
question. How do you sanitize cards?
Yeah.
Won't it get wet?
With
Sanitize
wipes.
wipe,
You
yeah.
don't actually sanitize them.
I see where Cindy is coming from because my geography teacher said we have to bring our own wipes. So when we once we leave our class, we have to bring our wipes and sanitize our chairs and
I
tape.
feel bad.
Oh, for us, like each
Our
student
school
gets
is
a
giving
personal
that
chair.
us to us. They don't
Yeah,
have to do it.
that's how it was for us in French class. So I
What?
geography teacher
Yeah.
was going to do the same, but now we have to bring
Because, yeah.
a Lysol bottle to school and wipe the chair.
Like I
That's so
remember, I
good.
heard like what I've heard is some of the teachers are talking about how you have to move your chair from one class to another once like the term ends, so that you use the same chair for like the entire year.
Yeah,
That's what they've
I
been
had
talking
different
about.
yeah. If you want to move, you have to move the whole desk and chair fully.
No, there's no desk. It's just a
Yeah.
chair.
In my board, we have
What?
like one class though. Like you spend a good like 3.5 hours because you only go for half days. So you spend 3 hours in just one classroom with one teacher doing one subject.
At
Yeah.
least we have
When
gym though.
you're told to write an essay is the hardest because you don't have a desk. So you're writing the entire essay on your lap, and it's like
Actually,
yeah, you're like you have your
I feel
binder and then
bad.
you're like writing on your binder.
So that's
So,
only
like,
for C-Ron, right? Only
yes,
yours.
for me that's
Oh.
how it is at least.
What grade are you in?
we
Sarah?
have desk and like the
Grade 9.
caretaker cleans it every lunch, recess, and then he cleans the bathroom 2 times a day.
Yeah,
It's only one caretaker.
I know
It's only
now.
one.
We have an
You have
online.
one caretaker doing all of that.
I
We have an online.
think the worst is the organization.
Oh,
Yeah.
all schools organized. It was awesome.
I know one thing
No, just
teachers
like-
are very strict on are not leaning against lockers because
Oh.
they're
Yeah,
like if
lockers
you guys
are
lean against a
bad.
locker and another person leans against it, then
Yeah.
that's also potential. So it's like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think it's just so hard to even be in the building.
The
yeah.
only way a school can get shut down is someone gets COVID. Like if one person gets COVID, it doesn't shut down. If 2 people get COVID-19, it shuts down forever. And you have
Wow.
to give
funny
like
is
14
that my friend
separation.
has gym, and what happens is you have to videotape yourself doing gym exercises and send it to your teacher like every single day. So he's like, I wake up in the morning, I do some gym exercises, send it to my teacher. I stay like that.
I
That's why
think
everyone's like,
Shangeet was doing that for soccer. He was saying he was going
No, he had a
downstairs.
soccer game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but when he was doing so Dahlia, what I have for you is you've got this whole community of people who are not for in school. So if you choose to stay and want to convince them, you need to really convince them by maybe showing pictures of how, not how C-Ron school is, but how maybe another school is and how their setup is, and maybe small class sizes. I know a lot of universities, a lot of colleges, they promote on small class sizes so that the teacher can focus and then they have the benefit. I know C-Ron was talking about if it's small class sizes is not for me, I like big class sizes. That's just one opinion, right? But then there are others who prefer it. They love it that their teacher has more focus on them. So you can share those benefits, like share 3 benefits, maybe even show a little bit of pictures here and there. If you can do that video, stand up for sure. Stand up and your volume higher. You did a great job with your volume and everything. So if you can change the video, those small things to show your full, until your chest, and use your hands, that strike position, that'll be really good, and really have a stance. If you want to switch your mind and say online school's the best, go for it. But I want you to have a stance. I want you to pick one, okay? Myra B, then C-Ron, and then we're out because it's 2:59.
I just want to say to Dahlia that I'm not sure if this was for all the other schools, but for us, since I'm in a TDSB school, before we go to school, we have to download this app and do this health self-assessment.
Yes,
And
that's
the
true.
QR code, and then we have to show it on our phone or print it out, and they will scan us in. That's our
That's for us. It's like we have to do that.
my first day of school, it was like 300 students going. It was like 2 blocks in, everyone's lined up. No social distancing was happening, and the app was down, and no one can go in without doing the self-assessment because of COVID-19 and the rules. So we were waiting outside from 8:40, 8:30 maybe to, and then I only went inside at 10:15, and I'm one of the first people. So there's like more people that came and went to their class at 11 o'clock on that day, or like after 11 o'clock. So that's also a very huge disadvantage for going to school now due to COVID-19. And
There you go. All right. And Siron, you had the last say. I know, Nitin, you wanted to say something, but we have to end it. It's 3:01. So Siron, I'll give it to you, and then we'll move on with the other evaluations next week. Well, not next week, because next week Sharon Mutu is going to take the whole 2 hours. She said she wanted the whole 2 hours to give to you guys. So it won't be next week, it'll be the week after.
For me, like, I like in person, but like I was watching this YouTube video, and then the person in that video is like, most often when you're in class, teachers are like, don't socialize with your friends. But this is the first time when you hear a teacher saying, we're starting in-person school so you guys could socialize. No teacher's gonna allow you to socialize. So what's the point of saying, oh, we're starting in-person school to socialize? It's like, that's what I didn't understand. So I'm like, I'm watching that video, I'm like, oh my God, this person's a genius. Because they're like,
do you have that video? Can you share it? Do you have it?
I can put the link in the chat. I have to find it. Just give me like a minute and I'll find it and put it in the chat.
Oh, why don't you email it to me, Siron, and then I'll email it to Dahlia. Maybe that'll help her with her video as well.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, so that's great. All right, guys. So I do look forward to seeing you guys next week. Make sure you all come. I'm sure you'll have a great time. And then we'll do this again the week after. All right?
Bye.
All right. See
I
ya.
have to do
Bye.
8 projects worth of school. So I have to go.
Best of luck.
Bye.
Bye. See ya.